Hello, welcome to Green New World, episode 4. My name is John Touloupis.
My name is Alexios, and in case this is your first time tuning in with us, this is a show in search of sustainability and sustainable products that will help lead us into a better, greener future.
Today's episode, we interviewed Claire Friona from Agricycle. She's our age, 21 years old, entrepreneur, college dropout.
Super cool. And her company is doing great things.
We got an interview lined up, so hope you enjoy. Let us know. The co-founder, Claire Friona, she's from Wisconsin, and she's one of the engineers behind all the products, and we're super excited to have her here today. Thank you.
Very lucky.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So I have a question. Let's just go ahead and answer it.
What?
Is it charcoal or what do you call it? Because in my mind,
So we say it's a sustainable biofuel that you can use just like traditional charcoal. So you take the leftover coconut shells that are just rotting away and you carbonize them into charcoal, and then we grind that up into a powder, and then we press it together using cassava starch, and we also put some carbonized palm kernels in there, and that's what makes your charcoal briquette. So traditional charcoal like Kingsford is made from wood, so you're cutting down trees to make charcoal that you then burn and release all that carbon into the environment. So we're using something that's going to waste otherwise and burning that. So that's why we call it, it's carbonized, but we call it a sustainable biofuel.
that is so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that.
If you would just back up, I know you wanted to jump right into it. If you could just
Oh, yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in these types of projects. Just start there.
Yeah, so I got started at Agricycle when I was a freshman in college. It was only an idea then. It was only kind of a school project. And after a couple months, the school decided they didn't want to be involved anymore. So we separated from the school and kind of struck out on our own. And then 2 years later, I was a junior, and I just sort of decided that I didn't want to be in school anymore. I'd much rather be doing Agricycle, and I was way more excited about working and doing something I loved instead of sitting in classes all day. So now I work full time. But I guess kind of where I got like interested in like international development, humanitarian engineering, because I was studying mechanical engineering in school. And I got started in that because I was in high school and I did a science fair project where I was trying to come up with a way to provide clean water to people. It didn't work because I was a high school student. And, had no idea what I was
A+ for effort on trying.
Yeah, but I got really interested in this idea of appropriate technology, and that's appropriate design means designing for the end user in mind. And in international development, that means designing products that can be used in a rural context. So that don't require electricity, that don't have a bunch of moving parts, that don't need bunch of maintenance, can be easily repaired with local materials, those sort of things. So that's really what kind of got me interested in like international development. But now I work a little more on the dark side and the business side. So
I have a question. How far did you make it in college?
I finished, my school was on trimesters, so I finished my first trimester of junior year, and then I dropped out.
Hey, I made it in junior year, first semester. I was like, I don't need this. There's so much more.
Yeah, I think junior year is really the year where it kicks in. Like you go to a ton of engineering courses. So if it's not for you, you're either in or you're out, I think.
So when you said you had to break off Agricycle from your school, what school was it? What university was it?
The Milwaukee School of Engineering.
So who is the we when you said we broke off?
Yeah, so there was a team of 4 of us that sort of stuck with it. We started it was a school project, so there was like 27 of us total working on blue mangoes at the time. And of course, a team of that many college students, only like 3 of you are actually doing work, right?
So who was what was the original project y'all were working on?
So we were going to build a dehydrator, a passive solar dehydrator in Panama to dehydrate fruit.
So why is that important? Can you explain that? Because I know that's a part of the Agricycle.
So I'll go back a little bit. So
okay.
The company the sort of idea came from our founder, Josh, who his freshman year, Josh is 2 years older than me in school. He went to Jamaica to build a dehydrate fruit. And he sort of realized that you could go to these communities and you could build a dehydrator, but then if they didn't have anywhere to sell the fruits, there was no reason for them to have a dehydrator. So that was really what brought Blue Mangoes and Agricycle to life, was this idea that you need a market-based solution to poverty, not just a design-based solution. So then my freshman year, we were going to go to Panama to build a dehydrator, and that ended up falling apart with the school. We did end up going to Panama. Unfortunately, that project was kind of a failure, but it was really important in the long run because it taught us a lot about how we need to work with communities. We need to have direct relationships with the communities, not going through like an NGO or another partner. It taught us that we like to brag it's the world's largest passive solar dehydrator, and we realized that was really silly, that there was no reason to build the world's largest passive solar dehydrator. So that it really informed our later designs. So yeah, that was kind of how we got started.
No, that's amazing.
That's very cool.
Talk about, I think what's coming up is like those early failures and how, like when you're doing this startup, to not get discouraged.
Yeah, you have to fail in order to know what success is like.
You got to fail before you win.
Yeah.
What was that like, kind of that experience?
That's definitely for sure. We definitely embody the whole like fail fast, fail often. You hear a lot in startups. And it's really interesting you guys bring that up, because I don't know that I'm necessarily afraid of failure, but I always want to have all the answers first before I do anything. And I've had to learn that it can't always be that way. You have to just sort of go for things sometimes and hope it works out.
Just dive in with it.
Yeah. And that's really how we've gotten as far as we have, is just by going for things and doing our best and trying to make it work out. What are a couple other like challenges we faced? Just recently we were all on a trip to Kenya and Uganda. Like our whole team was there in the past couple months, and we were there in March, which, as you know, is right when COVID hit the US. And so we, in about 24 hours, had to leave Africa because a travel ban was put in place, and our layovers were through Europe, so we had to leave like immediately. So that, just COVID has even taught us a lot about making sure our supply chain is really distributed, which is a big plus of our model, is that we work with a lot of different farmers all over the place. So even though supply chains have been disrupted, we've been able to keep working.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the model you guys have built and how it works, and just kind of explain that so people can understand like how you're coming in to these rural areas? I think that's really cool. Like you mentioned earlier, how important it is you have to have that market-based solution for these places, so that way if they have these products, they have to have a place to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the supply chain and kind of the model you guys are using?
Yeah, so we kind of break down our model into 3 different sort of pillars. First is the technology, which I've kind of mentioned with the dehydrators. We work with, like for the charcoal, we have charcoal kilns, briquette press machines. So those appropriate technologies that are meant to work in the rural context we work in. Next is our network of farmers. So we work with over 35,000 farmers across the world, and they're really what fuels our network, fuels our company, because they are producing our different brands, the dried fruit, the charcoal, we're doing fruit flours, we're doing chicken feeds. We have all kinds of stuff in the works.
So where are these farmers located? Because that's really cool.
Yes. So East Africa and West Africa, and a little bit in the Caribbean. We're building our network in there.
How do you get in contact with them and kind of go about that process?
Yeah. So in West Africa, I believe we met our director there. His name was Mohammed, and I believe we met him at like an event that he happened to be at, and we connected with him, and now we work in Liberia. In Kenya, I went to Kenya when I was a sophomore in college, and we went there because I think somebody who lives in Milwaukee's parents had a mango farm in Kenya. So that's how we ended up. So we get a lot of like through connections that happen to bring us to places, and then that's how we get started. But then as we're like growing our network, we have a team on the ground in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Liberia, who go to the farmers and to these cooperatives to actually train them and work with them to produce products.
Yeah. So then I just wanted some more of those details. If you can keep walking through, I think you were talking about the farmers and the products. What are the next two
So
pillars?
our network is what is who actually does like the processing. So for the fruit, our dried fruit line Jolly, they dry and then they bulk package the fruit, and then we send it to our pack house in Nairobi where it gets packaged in consumer packaging and then shipped to the US for sales. For the charcoal, we work with refugees actually who will carbonize, grind up the charcoal and press it into briquettes. The fruit flour also come from our farmers. We've talked about working with one of our cooperatives is a bunch of women who are escaping sex work. So we really target a lot of vulnerable populations. And they're the ones who we want to ensure that the processing happens at the farmer level because that's how we're able to provide the most value to the farmers. And then sort of that third and final part of our model is our market and our brands. So we've talked about the dried fruit, which is Jolly. We talked about the charcoal, which is Tropical. We're going to do fruit flour and other ingredients. So the sort of third and final part is that we take all these products that our farmers are producing and then we bring them to the US and into markets.
That's a really amazing framework on how you guys have it structured laid out. Could you explain a little bit so people know like what a cooperative is and how that model works where you're able, just go into that.
Yeah, so cooperatives, there can be the term can be a little loose. We sort of use cooperatives to refer to as like a community of farmers. So it could be like a cooperative. We have microfinancing options if farmers are interested in buying like a dehydrator or a mill or something. So a cooperative could save money and put money towards buying dehydrators and then would work together to dry fruit. It also could work at like an individual farmer level if a farmer wanted to buy their own dehydrator. So cooperatives, they have a couple of meanings. We use it as sort of a group of smallholder farmers who live in an area.
And then I want to put this the right way. Like before you guys come in and you're working with these farmers, like what are those rural areas like? And you talk about the importance of like giving them an opportunity to sell their products. What is it before and like how are you benefiting? Because I don't want people to think or get the wrong message on like how the supply chain works and like the actual economics behind it, if that makes sense.
Definitely. So a lot of the areas we work in, people make less than $2 a day. And that's if they are able to have a job a day because they don't necessarily have like continuous
they
work.
don't have the opportunity to work. Right.
So we come in and by working with us with the dehydrators, we're actually able to pay women 7 times the typical daily wage. And we do that with we use the principles of fair trade. So we pay farmers what we promise them up front, not 6 months later. It's a fair wage and we're paying them what we've promised them. So we have a certain amount that we'll pay per kilogram of dried fruit. The other thing that's really important about what we're doing is, say a farmer, we use the term farmer, but these might be people who just have trees. Like mango trees just grow in Africa, or sometimes they're even planted for cultural reasons. Like in Uganda, when somebody starts a family, they plant a mango tree. So these people just have trees and there's so many mangoes that there's no market value for them because just everybody has them. It would be like us going outside and trying to sell like acorns or something.
They're just everywhere. They're just everywhere. And everyone's like, I don't want this.
Would you like to buy my pine cone?
Yeah, basically. So nobody looks at them as like, oh my gosh, these have so much value because they're just everywhere. Even if you sell them in the market, I believe in Uganda, you can sell a basket of like 30 mangoes for like 50 cents, if even that. It's just absurd. And we go to the store and we pay like $1 a mango. So we're taking a resource that they have that has no value in their market, in their economy, and we're bringing it to an economy that does have value.
So that's really cool. And people, I think, in today's age, capitalism is seeing this it's like a dirty word, but you're creating these market-based solutions where you're taking products that they really don't have value, but you're taking it where it has value somewhere else. Can you talk about how this is sustainable and kind of the sustainability behind it?
Yeah, so with the fruit, we're using entirely food loss. So there's 2.8 trillion pounds of food waste every year. And in sub-Saharan Africa, 95% of that is due to food loss, which happens between the producer and the market. And that's due to kind of those few things I mentioned about, like, there's no market, there's no preservation techniques, and the supply chain isn't very good to actually get these fruits to a market. So that's one thing we're doing. We're cutting down on food waste, which I believe by Project Drawdown was now named like one of the top ways to change global warming or to reverse global warming. It's a huge problem. With tropical, we're using, again, food waste, and we're not cutting down trees to produce charcoal. So you're using something that would otherwise go to waste, as opposed to then deforesting land. And I believe in Tanzania, charcoal is one of the highest causes of deforestation.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I guess, what are your goals with Agricycle moving forward? Like, where do you see yourself the next year, the next 5 years, and the next 10 years down the road?
Like, once you break in, the goal is to break into the American market. So, like, how from there, what comes next?
Yeah, I think what's next for us is more products and more brands, because so say like with Jolly, with the dried fruit, one of our dried fruits is mango. So you can take a mango, you can dry it, and then you're left with the pit and the peel of the mango, right? Mm-hmm. So then we can take the pit of the mango, we can grind it up and mix it with some other stuff, and it becomes a really good chicken feed. And in Uganda, in the northern part, they can't afford to ship chicken feed to the northern part of Uganda. So we could literally start a poultry industry in Uganda.
So you're going to you're going to be a titan of industry over there, where you're just taking all of these different products and, okay,
exactly.
We'll use the mango
so
here,
it's a very
dried fruit.
Circular economy, like trying to use all parts of the fruit to upcycle them into different products that we then eventually sell.
Yeah, you see, like, a problem, too many mangoes. Here's the solution. We'll dry them, then we'll ground the pit into chicken feed, and then what's the skin gonna
So the peel, you can actually, there's an oil in it that you can extract that's a natural insecticide for citrus trees.
Wow. So there's fruits. Nature
you
has
can
provided
do
us with a
you can
closed
do
loop.
all kinds of things with fruits. It's insane. Like,
so how do you scale? Go ahead. Keep going.
Like another thing is you can I don't know if you ever heard of a breadfruit. It's the only fruit that's a starch. But you can take the flowers of those, and if you like burn them, they're a natural mosquito repellent. Like, there's all kinds of like crazy uses for agricultural products and agricultural waste.
That's amazing.
So cool. So it's almost like the planet provides us a solution for the problems we sometimes face. Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds pretty far off, and I don't buy
it. What are some of the ways you're looking to scale Agricycle?
A couple things we're doing now is we're working with our network of farmers we're able to utilize our network of farmers to work with other technology companies who maybe are trying to do like solar power or clean water or education. And we're able to connect those other startups, I'm sure you've heard of them before, with our network. And that's been an interesting side for us, because we're able to sort of go the opposite way down our supply chain and give things to the farmers that they need, and really sell products to an entire market of people who's been largely ignored for a long time. So that's been a new thing. Of course, scaling our brands. We're looking to bring Jolly into retail. We were supposed to launch Jolly in retail in March. Of course, that didn't really work out for us, because not a single grocer was interested in bringing in new products when they couldn't get what they normally had. Tropical is currently on Kickstarter. So we'll be launching that into retail late this year, early 2021.
Yeah, we'll put a link below. We'll put a link in the description below. Check it out.
Yeah,
donate,
definitely
help
check it out.
Yeah.
I think it wraps up in like 7 days, so definitely back us. Get your tropical early. Just maybe in time for like some Christmas grilling or something. You never know.
Bonfires are very popular.
Yeah.
There
in
you go.
Yeah.
Tropical
Um, we also want to move into ingredient supplying, so a lot more bulk sales. We can do breadfruit flour, coffee flour, mango pit flour. It's another use for mango pits. So taking all the food waste and grinding it into naturally gluten-free flours. Yeah, so that's kind of some of our what's coming.
That's really exciting.
exciting.
I have one last question. How old are you?
Sure. I'm
No,
21.
21. Wow.
Hey!
So that's amazing.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm 22. So that's really exciting. Yeah, I feel old. No, that's amazing that
so
it's
cool.
going to be like people
You're the future.
yeah, our age that are working on these really cool
Yeah.
sustainable business practices. And 2 people now that just said, I'm done with college. There's other stuff I want to do. There's other stuff I'm passionate about. I don't need to sit in a classroom when I can go out and start doing things. And I think that's kind of what we're going to start seeing more and more of with this COVID and how things are changing and how everything is online anyway.
Yeah, I think it's definitely what's going to happen. And I love to see it. So,
Is there anything else you would like to add or comment? Alexios, you got anything?
I have a question. How much of the learning did you guys just YouTube? Like, how do you do this?
We like to say that Agricycle wouldn't exist without Google. So, I will say though, we learned a lot from like startup accelerators and the network. Milwaukee has a pretty good startup ecosystem. So tapping into that, if anyone listening to this is interested in doing their own venture, definitely reach out to the people around you and learn from them as much as you can.
That's the biggest thing. Just like using the resources that you have in front of you, the people and the ideas, just like not shying away from a thought or a person and like being open to like change and like new ventures, like you said. Yeah.
I think that was one of our biggest things. We wouldn't exist without the people around us for sure.
It's really cool. Is there anything else you would want to add? Plug? Anything to plug?
Yeah. Support us on Kickstarter. Make Tropical happen. Check out the Jolly Fruit Co. JALI fruit.co.
We'll put a link in the description below. We'll put another link.
Yep. You can scan the QR code on the front of the Jolly bag and know exactly where your fruit came from, so you can learn the stories of the women we've been talking about this whole time.
That's super cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Go Bucks, right?
Go Bucks.
I'm not from Milwaukee actually, so I'm not a huge Bucks fan, unfortunately. But I guess I am now. I've had to adopt them. So
We love Giannis.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Great. All right, we're gonna go on and just.
Wow, I am super impressed with Claire and her company.
She's smart, man. She's on top of her stuff. Talking about supply chains, market-based solutions.
She dropped out and she pursued something. She followed it. She dreamed it, and she made it a reality.
I think one of the coolest things was talking about how they had to fail along the way to get where they are, and that never stopped them. They were always locked in. They knew what they were trying to do. They knew their vision, and they're still following through, and they're still building today.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing is, if you really enjoyed this video, go put the links in down. Check out their Kickstarter. They got 7 days left, so help them kind of keep building their portfolio of projects.
Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, together, we can build a green new world.